Hello everybody and welcome back to Robert's Reviews. Today we are going to be continuing the MCU series, which I have determined will end in September? August. It'll end in August. So we've got a few more months left of this to go. For those of you who are following along the MCU with me, this is entry number 29. So that is including movies and TV show seasons. This is the 29th entry in the MCU. And I'm really excited to talk about this one. This has been my favorite for a long time, one of my favorites. And today I'm going to be talking about Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange was released in 2016. It was written by John Spates, Scott Derrickson, and C. Robert Cargill, and was directed by Scott Derrickson. So, Doctor Strange is a movie that I watched when it came out. I was really excited for this one. I've watched it many times. This is one of the ones that I rewatch often, mainly because it's so entrancing and there's so many hidden Easter eggs and details that it blows your mind. Plus, Benedict Cumberbatch. But for those of you who have not seen Doctor Strange or want a brief recap, here's what happens. There is a magnificent doctor who knows everything about music, and which is irrelevant, but it's a fun fact, and he is doing surgery and stuff, blah, 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 but he's also very egotistical. He thinks he's very smart. He thinks he's better than everybody else. He's kind of an asshole. Very much so, an asshole. And he is on his way to this big event, and he's looking at his phone while driving, and he gets in this horrific car accident. One of the most spectacular car crashes caught on television. Boom, crash, boom, 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 roll, and you see his hands break as they go into the steering wheel. And then his hands are very broken and shaky. He can't use them, he can't write, he can't type, which means he can no longer be a doctor because he can't use his hands as a surgeon. So he is trying to figure out how to fix them. He goes through all these processes, but no one seems to want to work on them because they're too scared. The only person good enough to fix Doctor Strange's hands is Doctor Strange. So he learns about this patient who miraculously learned to walk again after being paralyzed, and he goes to talk to him, and he's like, listen, go to Carmartage, and you'll find everything you need. So he goes and he finds Carmartage, and they don't let him in. They're like, you're not allowed to be in here. And eventually he does talk them into letting him come in. And what happens is he meets the Ancient One, and she shows him there's a multiverse. And throws him into this really cool CGI scene that I really liked. And he gets to see all these really cool things. And then he's like, teach me. And she's like, no. But then eventually he talks her into letting her teach him. And he reads a lot of books. I mean, he was a doctor. He perfected that. He can totally perfect this. And he does. And he gets very good at it. And then he learns about this bad guy named Mordo. No, that's the good guy. Named Caecilius. And Caecilius has stolen a page of this bad thing that can basically destroy the world and take over all of the sanctums in the world. And basically he's going to allow Dormammu's evil forces from a different multiverse into this universe and destroy the universe. So Doctor Strange, being the cool guy that he is like, you know what, I got this. And they are protecting the Infinity Stone, the Time Stone. And so, which leads us directly into Infinity War, which is coming up very soon. So stay tuned for that. And he, at the end of the film, he teams up with all of his friends, and he goes to Dormammu, and he has a time stone set on repeat. So every time he dies, he was back to right when he's about to meet Dormammu. This is one of the most iconic scenes in the world. I watch just this scene by itself, once every couple weeks. I love it so much. He shows up and he's like, Dormammu, I've come to bargain. And Dormammu's like, no, and then he kills him. And then he does it 300 times. Dormammu's like, God, fine. And then he leaves, which is the coolest way to kill a bad guy. Then he goes back to Earth. He resets everything, and everything's fine. However, his friend Mordo gets very upset with him because he thinks that people shouldn't be using this kind of wizardry if you're not the Ancient One and all that stuff. And he gets very upset with the way that they're using the magic, particularly this time stone. And so he's like, you know what? I'm going to go off on my own and be my own person. So then he leaves, and it is rumored that he's going to be a bad guy soon, and it has been 4 years, and we've seen and heard nothing. He is not confirmed as of right now, I believe, for Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness. However, one can hope. So that was the recap for Doctor Strange. I'm going to talk about some things that I liked. First of all, the special effects in this movie are, as most Marvel movies are, top-notch. Particularly the CGI scene where he goes flying into like all the multiverse. One of the coolest sequences in the world. The only sequence better than that, in my opinion, in the MCU in terms of CGI is in Spider-Man Far From Home, in that Mysterio scene where he sends Spider-Man everywhere. That's a cool scene. Also, fun fact, that scene is entirely CGI, which is really cool. This one, I believe, is not fully CGI. I believe it is motion captured and CGI. So, some things I really enjoyed. Besides that, I enjoyed the acting. The acting this movie is top tier. I love it so much. The story behind it's great. It's one of those movies that they didn't really expect was going to work very well, but then it did. And I'm really happy about it. I love the Time Stone. We get to learn more about that. That way we had the Dark World with the Ether. We had the Power Stone, I think it is, within the Tesseract and the Avengers, which might actually be the Space Stone. I don't remember. Keeping track of my head, it's hard. And then the Time Stone, of course, in this one. So we got to learn a lot of them. And we're really, really gearing up for Avengers and Infinity War and Endgame. But besides being a really good prequel to Infinity War, it's a solid standalone movie. This is one of the few MCU movies where you can watch this one and not need to watch any other MCU film to understand it. So for those of you who are interested in watching an MCU movie but you don't want to watch the whole MCU movie, this is a good one to start with, I think. Personally, I would probably start, if you didn't want to start with Iron Man and go chronological like I prefer doing, there are a couple ways to watch it. One of them is starting with Captain America, the First Avenger, and going chronologically in that order, which in my opinion is fine. I enjoy that order. I think it's a good order. And then this one, I think there's a lot of standalone movies you can just watch and not need anything else for, such as Doctor Strange, where you can literally just put the DVD in and sit back, relax, and watch Doctor Strange. And it's a fun movie to watch, and you don't need any prior knowledge of any other MCU movie or MCU comic. So that's pretty fun. Let's talk about the acting real quick, and then we'll wrap it up for the day. First of all, Benedict Cumberbatch as Dr. Stephen Strange. No one could have done it better. I mean, Benedict Cumberbatch is great at everything he does. At some point down the line, maybe we'll do a series on him. I don't know, but we'll see. I really genuinely enjoy watching Benedict Cumberbatch, particularly in this film. He's witty, he's fun, he's egotistical, but then he learns to become a sorcerer, and he learns that he needs to put others in front of him, and it's a touching story, and I really enjoyed Benedict Cumberbatch's portrayal of being able to be soft but hard at the same time. Chiwetel Ejiofor, it's hard to pronounce, it's not in my language, who plays Mordo, who's not the bad guy, as I said earlier. I slip up. I'm very tired. I just watched Gangs in New York this morning, the same day that I'm filming this, and it was really long, so I'm very tired. But if you want to watch that review, it's the one that came out yesterday. Mordo is really good as a best friend, and I really enjoy watching this because he's helping Stephen Strange learn magic and stuff, and he's really cool to watch. I was incredibly disappointed that he was not on his side at the end of the movie and decided he wants to go be a bad guy, and I was incredibly disappointed. However, I think he has a good potential to be a bad guy too, so I'm excited to see if they go the right route for that one as well. I'm doubtful, but I'm hoping. Rachel McAdams as Dr. Christine Palmer. This is the sort of love interest where Dr. Stephen Strange and her had a thing before, but then of course he's an asshole to her because he's an asshole to everyone, and he loses her. But then in the middle of the movie they get back together, kind of, sort of, and it's really cute. I hope we see more of her in the future films. I'd love to see her know more about the mystical powers that he has, and to have her learn about these awesome things that he can do. And I think that it would work really well if they tied her into the MCU in that way. I'd love to see that personally. I'm hoping we do. Benedict Wong as Wong. So Wong is one of the funniest characters in the MCU. He is easily the comic relief of the MCU, in my opinion, besides like Spider-Man. Wong is not a superhero, but he also has Doctor Strange's powers. He's just not very good at using them. He is the librarian at the sanctum that he stays at, and he's funny and he's awesome, and I love Wong, so thank you, Benedict Wong, for bringing Wong into my heart. Mads Mikkelsen as Caseless. So as I said before, he's the bad guy. Besides Dormammu, he's trying to get Dormammu to take over the world, basically. He's an okay villain. I don't really understand why he's doing it, besides to be an asshole. I think we could have delved deeper into the backstory a little bit. which is definitely a big negative. Is I didn't really like this villain very much. I liked Dormammu a lot. I didn't really like this one though. And if you all know me, I like good villains. This is just not one for me. But his acting was fine. It was hard to act with all the makeup. I bet though was insane. But I enjoyed the performance and I had fun watching it. And finally, Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One. That was bold choice of them to pick a white woman to be the Ancient One, whom in the comics has always been an adult, like, Chinese man or whatever. I think it was a little whitewashed, this movie, particularly in this role, and I was a little upset about it. However, it is what it is. We can't go back on it now. Tilda Swinton's fantastic anyway, and I really enjoyed the performance. However, the writing and the directing could have been a little bit better if they had decided to choose an actual, like, person of that culture. They didn't, however, so it's kind of sad. But I think that's all I have to talk about for Doctor Strange. I'm going to give this movie an A. I don't think it's an A+, because there's a couple issues that I had with it, but for the most part, it was a really fun movie, and I genuinely enjoyed watching it. And if you haven't seen it, you really should. It is on Disney+. I enjoy watching this movie a lot. I watch it, probably every couple months. It's a fun movie to watch, and I think you would enjoy watching it, so give it a watch. That does it for me today. Tomorrow we have Alexander and the Horrible, Terrible, Blah Blah, Very Bad Day movie. There's so many words. It's going to be a long title. I'm sorry about that. But that comes out tomorrow. I'm watching it tomorrow, which is a week from tomorrow for you guys. But I'm watching it tomorrow. I'm excited because it's short and it looks fun. It's a Steve Carell film. So hope you guys stay tuned for that. But if I don't see you tomorrow, I'll see you in the next video. So as always, keep watching movies and television. Stay educated. And I'll see you guys in the next video.